my god.
Hey From fans, it's just been the end of the week, and you know what that means. Another episode of our favorite TV show, From. The promotional video for this week's episode had us all pumped up about the new events that would transpire. Now that the episode is out, let's see how well that went, shall we? But before we get started with the video, we have a small request for you. If you like our content, subscribe to us and like the video. It might just be a simple click for you, but it means a lot to us. Now that we've got that out of the way, let's get started. Episode breakdown. The episode starts off right where we last saw Jim, standing in his kitchen, talking on the telephone. I find it interesting that Jim seems to be the only one who keeps getting these voices over the telephone without being stuck in a dream sequence. He was the one who heard the voice over the radio, and now, here he is with a call from Thomas, his dead son, on the other side. Thankfully, Jim does not believe the voice to be his son, which is great. Jim has been engaging in tomfoolery since season 1, and I'm glad that this time, he did not pick the stupidest option available in front of him. The voice on the other side blames Jim for letting Tabitha leave in the first place, and when Jim tries to interject, the voice gives Jim an ominous warning about Ethan and Julie being outside this close to nighttime. Just like things used to be in the town before the Matthews family arrived, Boyd is seen walking down the street ringing his bell. He notices Jim outside, screaming for Ethan and Julie to come back home. Jim stops to speak with Boyd, telling him how things here are getting worse, but he does not tell Boyd about Thomas' creepy call. Jim has been going on and on about how everyone needs to work together since day one, but still, he does not think about telling Boyd about the call from the other side. Unbelievable. The patriarch of the Matthews family is not the only one struggling with communication though. Back in Camden, Tabitha has been spending hours and hours in the basement, trying to figure out clues from the pictures laid out in front of her. She didn't sleep through the night and accidentally broke a piece of glassware. Henry tries to calm her down, but Tabitha insists that she keep looking for clues. Henry asks about the boy in white, assuming the boy lured Tabitha into the lighthouse. Tabitha corrects him, stating that she went inside the tower on her own because she wanted to save the kids. That's when she was pushed out by the boy in white. She was explaining the bottle tree Victor told her to go through when she heard the familiar clinking of glass bottles in the yard. She asks Henry if he hears them too, and Henry confirms that yes, he does, because out there, Miranda hung bottles on a tree, naming it the bottle tree. Turns out, Miranda was the artist who used to do installations all around the town. One of her favorite projects was the bottle tree. The one in the yard is a replica that she created to keep it close to her. The original bottle tree she made is a few towns over in a park. That original bottle tree is the place where Henry and Miranda took acid together, which in turn started Miranda's downward spiral. So one could say that that tree is where all of it started. Hearing that, Tabitha begs Henry to take her there immediately. The day after Tien Chen's funeral, Boyd and Ellis finally meet in the sheriff's office to discuss Boyd's plan to capture the creatures. Boyd wants to bring one of the monsters inside and lock it up with a talisman, in the hopes that they'll be able to make it talk and learn more about the place. The idea is absolutely bonkers, but hey, it's something. Donna comes to tell Boyd about the gatherers, who are en route to take the forage food when she notices their faces. Ellis forces Boyd to tell Donna about his plan, and as you can guess, she does not support it. The plan is not foolproof, it's extremely dangerous, and if anything goes wrong, Boyd would die, something Donna definitely doesn't want. The argument they have leaves Boyd a little shaken, and he refuses to talk to Ellis about his thoughts after Donna leaves. Fatima, back in the colony house, is still not able to eat any normal food. When the smell of a steak leaves her nauseated, she leaves to go outside. There, she tries chomping down on a few rotten veggies left behind in the greenhouse, but she's unable to finish her meal, as Tilly notices her. She throws the veggies away and runs inside. Kenny, Jade, and Christy, along with a few other members, reach the shack. Kenny divides the work for foraging and goes off on his own. Jade, instead of helping out, is seen scribbling the symbol in his notebook. When the other group members complain, Jade storms off in frustration. He comes across those red stones that we saw in the episode trailer. Jade finds the red rocks interesting, and when he checks them out, he notices a guy pinned to the tree with a metal piece through his left eye socket. Jade thinks the man is dead and makes his way to him, but the guy grabs onto Jade's clothes. Jade starts freaking out, and Dale comes to find him, only to see Jade fighting with air. Understandably, this puts Jade in full panic mode, and he does not wish to remain in the shack. Christy and Kenny have a fight over Kenny's suppression of his emotions, which gets cut short by Jade screaming. Kenny tries to mitigate the situation, but eventually he relents to let Jade go. Christy quickly realizes that Jade is going the wrong way and follows him, but ends up getting trapped in the bear trap. Back in the town, Ethan keeps asking Jim morbid questions about Tabitha's dead body, which frustrates Jim. Ethan storms out and Julie follows after him, giving Jim an earful about his parenting style, as she should. We later find out that Ethan made a beeline to the diner to clean up pots and pans the way Tian-chun would have kept them. Bacta came into the diner to get some pots, but when she saw Ethan, she decided to stay and help him. Boyd, on the other hand, had cooped himself up in the church. He was building something when Father Khatri showed up. From the conversation that follows, it becomes evident that Father Khatri thinks that Boyd is trying to make the deaths of Tian-chun and Khatri all about his failures, which is leading him to desperately create a trap for the monsters, when really, Boyd is making a memory board of all the lives that have been claimed by this town. Sarah, who finally has her old house back after Reggie's death, tries to put the Christmas ornament Nathan made for her back together. Right then, she gets a knock on her door. Victor's at her doorstep holding a suitcase. Previously in the episode, we saw Victor trying to find a particular tree, and we saw him digging. The suitcase is what he was looking for, and now that he has it, he asks Sarah to build a fort with him so that he can share his stories with her. Tilly manages to get through to Fatima after sharing her own experience with pregnancy and weird food cravings. She used to lick eggshells out of the dumpsters, and this comforted Fatima enough to open up about her fears. Fatima is scared that her baby is not normal and there's something terribly wrong, but she can't open up to anyone about it, not even to Ellis, because he's genuinely happy and she doesn't wish to take it away from him. Tilly tells her that they can find out what's up with her baby right now, and Fatima should come with her. Boyd goes to the diner, where Ethan basically tells him that maybe they should simply give up, as there's no way home. Boyd tries to comfort Ethan, but with barely any answers, Boyd cannot do much. Bacta and Boyd talk, and she brings up an interesting point, the fact that a nursery rhyme that her grandmother used to tell her. Somehow, strangely, it plays a significance in this mysterious town. At the colony house, Tilly's method of finding out what's wrong with Fatima's baby is tarot cards. Fatima is understandably suspicious about the whole thing, and she makes her disdain obvious. Tilly laid out a whole guilt trip on her and told her that the cards helped her learn about the cancer and getting stuck in the town a long time ago. The signs were there, but she did not know how to read them. Dubiously, Fatima accepts the whole tarot card reading. However, before she could find out what the cards had to say about her baby's health, a crow breaks the window and enters the colony house, only to fly into a wall and break its neck. Going back to Christy with her leg stuck in a bear trap, Jade decides to dismantle one of those spooky scarecrows to use the iron rods to get her out. As Christy guides Dale, Kenny, and Jane to help her pop back her dislocated ankle, Jade sees the guy he saw in the forest again. But this time, he has a skull in his hand, drinks blood from it, and offers some to Jade. Jade snaps out of the vision when Christy calls out to him. The group manages to fix her leg for the time being and carry her back to the shacks, where they would camp out for the night. While all of this is happening, we cut back to Randall. Now, we remember Randall as the powder keg who's been actively trying to find a way out of this town in the worst way possible. He's still living in his bus, and suddenly he hears a familiar buzz of cicadas. He tries to swat the approaching swarm off of him, only to realize they were a hallucination when Boyd walks in. Boyd asks Randall to switch places with him for the night, because he wants to stay on the bus to understand what the creatures do at night a little better. Randall agrees. Cutting back to Tabitha and Henry, they're in Henry's car on their way to the park, and the original bottle tree that started everything in the first place. Tabitha gets a little car sick, and Henry tells her to take out the crackers from the glove box to feel better. However, inside the glove box, Tabitha finds the same bracelet she saw in the town. Previously, when Tabitha and Henry got in the car radio started playing the song Blue by Joni Mitchell, which turns out to be both Henry and Miranda's as well as Tabitha and Jim's song. That and the bracelet in the glove box make Tabitha feel like she's still stuck in the town. She asks Henry if they're even in Camden and starts panicking. She asks Henry to let her out of the car, but Henry refuses. She can't just show up and tell him that his kid is alive, only to leave again. As Henry and Tabitha struggle inside the car rolls forward and gets T-boned by another oncoming car. When Tabitha wakes up, both she and Henry are in an ambulance on their way to the hospital. The paramedics are treating Henry, and the cop inside the ambulance identifies Tabitha as the lunchbox lady, the one who ran away from the hospital previously. Tabitha doesn't want to go to jail, because of course she doesn't, but fate plays a cruel joke on her when the ambulance suddenly comes to a stop. Yep, there's a fallen tree in front of them on the road, and they don't have a way to go around it, and this is where the episode ends. There's no doubt that this episode is basically one of those intermediate ones that lay out all the puzzle pieces for us, so it's okay if you were a little disappointed with the lack of action this time. But this episode did give us a few clues that are definitely worth discussing, so let's get to it. Jim and his miserable state. From the first season, Jim and Tabitha's relationship has been on the fence because of Thomas' accidental death. The reason Tabitha felt like she needed to answer the calls of the ghoulish kids was that she felt guilty after the death of Thomas, and she felt like saving this child would give her some solace. While that led to Tabitha getting out into the real world, this ruined the family dynamics of the Matthews family. Jim has been a bit of an absentee parent throughout the season, and when he returns from his voyage in the forest, Julie chews him out. Now, the evil forces of the town are using the misery and grief of the family falling apart against Jim. Thomas blames Jim for letting Tabitha venture out, effectively signing her death sentence, which almost breaks Jim down. Jim refuses to believe that this voice is actually Thomas, but the cruel mockery of the town is hard to dismiss. Miranda and Tabitha, the connection and similarities between the two mothers. The 3 episodes that we've seen so far made it abundantly clear that Tabitha and Miranda are 2 peas of the same pod. They both made the bracelets for their husbands. They both ended up in the town. Both couples have the same song as their song. All of these are just too similar to be a mere coincidence. So how are they connected? Well, what if they were the same person? We've figured out so far that Tabitha and Miranda were both selected to save the kids. Could it be that the entities keep bringing in people who are exactly like the previous people? Even though they're 2 different people, Miranda and Tabitha are the same person deep down. Now, I know it sounds absolutely bonkers, but think about it. If the Fromville is truly a supernatural entity, reincarnation wouldn't be too far-fetched of an idea. Maybe Miranda and Tabitha share the same soul, or they could just be alternate versions of one another. And this entire time, the town acts like this main hub, where characters from a particular universe are selected to finish the mission. When they're unable to do it, a huge massacre happens, and the whole group is wiped out, only to be replaced by alternate versions of the same. We would definitely need more proof to be 100% sure, but this is one of the theories that could explain the complicated yet simple relationship between Tabitha and Miranda. Both the Kavanaugh family and the Matthews family units are very similar. 1 mother, 1 father, and 2 kids. 1 boy and 1 girl. If Victor had not managed to stay alive for as long as he did, I'm sure the boy in white would have approached Ethan either way, and the events that transpired would have happened eventually. In each cycle, 1 such family unit is chosen, and the matriarch is tasked to save the kids in the tower. Desert Star Chronicle and Secret Message. In episode 2, Tabitha tries to prove to Henry that she and her family went missing with the help of the internet. The article that she points out is something that all of us can visit at www.desertstarchronicle.com. On this website, we first see the article about the Matthews family, and then we get to see the advertisement for the Rendezvous, the moving company we actually see in the show. In the flashback episode about Boyd, he's seen bringing a camper along with his car, which is from this company. In one of the scenes, the calendar in the background shows the name Rendezvous as well. When you go to their website, you'll see the number 1672 at the top of the tab. This date was etched into the lighthouse when Tabitha was having that dream in earlier seasons. Along with that, on this particular page, you can access a secret image using the source code. The image you will find is one of Victor's crayon drawings with a house and 2 black ghostly specters around it. The date on the top of the picture is 1597. This is Victor's house number. While, of course, this website is just an added-on bonus to the mysteries of the town, the reason I brought up the website is because of the articles you'll find linked next to the Matthews family reports. You'll see that they mention Navajo Indians in one of the articles. Now, how is this related? The Shack and the Scarecrows. One of the creepiest things from the Season 3 trailers has to be those scarecrows. We had no idea what they were there for. However, as the season progresses, with all of these clues coming up, I can string together a theory. So, the shacks that we see guarded by these scarecrows are very similar to the shacks pilgrims used to convert Navajo Indians to Christianity. In Miranda's drawings, we did see 1 or 2 paintings of the pilgrims. The clothes that the man in Jade's vision seemed to be wearing also make a lot of fans think of him as a pilgrim. So, could it be that this town was created because of a ritual done while the pilgrims were here? That would explain the cave drawing we saw in season 2 a bit more. In that drawing, ships were depicted approaching Fromville. So maybe the first cycle of this mysterious township started back in the day when the pilgrims traversed here. While this is all I have about the shack, when it comes to the scarecrows, I got this ominous feeling that Jade dismantling one of them would be the reason behind all the turmoil the townsfolk would face this season. A lot of fans looked at the scarecrows and identified them to be voodoo related. So could it be that each of these scarecrows is trapping a soul in them? That's why after Jay dismantles one of them, the pilgrim guy with the skull in hand shows up without being bound to the tree. The town inherently works in a high-risk, high-reward system. The day Jim and Kenny settled in the shacks, they did a quick survey of the surroundings, but didn't find vegetables. However, the morning after Tien Chun's death, suddenly there were patches of vegetables all around. It was like the mysterious forces were compensating for Tien Chun's loss with the vegetables. This is what led to the townsfolk coming there a second time. But with one of the scarecrows dismantled, I can't help but wonder what would happen happened to the crops of this particular area. In our previous video, I did mention that it seemed like the creatures, or whatever was outside the shack, didn't wait around and move past it when Jim and Kenny were staying the night there. Could it be that the scarecrows were actually protecting them, and the region as a whole from the evil entity that controls the town? If so, now that that barrier is ruined, I have a feeling that either the crops would rot in this region as well, or another malicious entity would be on the prowl now that it's free. Tarot cards. Just a fluke or something greater than that? I'm sure that everyone noticed that the crow with a kamikaze mission showed up right when Fatima was about to flip the card and learn her reading. Did anyone else find it strange? It felt like the tarot cards could actually predict everything that Fatima needed to know, and to prevent her from learning, the crow was sent in. Now, when it comes to From, there have been a lot of theories. However, one of the most popular fan speculations about this TV show was made by Reddit user Taran Mataru. They explained in their theory that From could very well be a game between an accursed witch and a Beothuk deity in Newfoundland during the last expedition of John Cabot that took place in 1468. This theory is extremely interesting, and you should definitely read it when you can. But this hypothesis explains that each character we see here is directly tied to a tarot card, stating their role and allegiance, if they're the good guy or the bad guy. Seeing the tarot cards used in this episode definitely made me feel like this theory could very well be true, as the showrunners often hinted that each character is here for a unique purpose. What do you guys think? Let us know in the comments down below. Marvelous verdict. The third episode of From definitely picked up the pace from the last one. We get to see Boyd's judgment clouded by desperation, Jade finally getting his quest for this season, and Tabitha returning to Fromville once again. I'm truly excited to see what will happen in the fourth episode after the ambulance finally reaches the town. I'm looking forward to the much-awaited Kavanaugh family reunion. Let us know in the comments what you guys are most excited about for the upcoming episode, and I'll see you guys next time. If you like our content, like it and subscribe if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks everyone!